My daughter chose my retirement party to destroy me. My name is Sharon Hollowell. 34 years building an accounting firm from nothing. Raised her alone after her father died. Paid for everything. And at my retirement dinner in front of 220 people, she announced she'd sold my business without asking me. Sold it to a corporation that would eliminate every elderly client I protect. 76 vulnerable people. Widows on Social Security. The people who remind me why I started this. She called them dead weight. Here's what she didn't know. 28 years ago, after my husband's cancer bankrupted us, I built something into the company documents. A veto clause she never read, hidden in section 7.4. That night, I pulled it. I watched my daughter's face go white. This gets worse before it gets better. If you want to see how someone protects what matters when family turns on them, hit subscribe. You'll want to follow this. Here's what happened. October 15th, 2024. I should have seen it coming. The signs were there for months, maybe years. But when you raise a child alone, when you sacrifice everything to give them what you never had, you develop a blind spot. You want to believe they understand. You want to believe gratitude is automatic. It isn't. The first time I really noticed was 3 months before the retirement dinner. July 22nd, 2024. A Monday afternoon. I came back from lunch early. Our office is on North Duke Street in Lancaster, Pennsylvania. Second floor of a converted warehouse building. 38 employees spread across 1,850 square feet. I heard Maya's voice through the conference room door. Loud, confident, the voice she uses when I'm not around. Mom has attachment issues since Dad died. She projects onto these old people. It's not business strategy. It's grief therapy. I stopped walking. My hand was on the doorknob. Inside, I could hear her partners laughing. Not cruel laughter, uncomfortable laughter, the kind that says they know it's wrong but don't want to challenge her. Last week, Maya continued, this 80-year-old lady brought her cookies because she couldn't pay her full bill. Homemade chocolate chip. And you know what my mom did? She cried. Actual tears over cookies. More laughter. That's the problem, Maya said. She can't separate emotion from economics. These elderly clients pay maybe $135 a month. Market rate is $595. We're subsidizing $52,800 a year because Mom feels guilty about Dad's medical bills from $1,996, 28 years ago. I stood there for maybe 30 seconds. My hands were shaking, not from anger, from something worse. Shame. The kind of shame you feel when someone you love sees your grief as weakness. I didn't open the door. I walked back to my office, sat at my desk, looked at James's photo, 1995 portrait. He was 33, smiling, wearing that navy suit he loved. He died a year later. Pancreatic cancer, stage 4. We never saw it coming. I still wear my wedding ring. 28 years later. Gold band worn thin. Maya's husband, Trevor, asked me once why I never took it off. This was at a family dinner last Christmas. His exact words. Sharon, don't you think it's time to move on? James has been gone longer than you were married. I didn't know how to explain that grief doesn't have a statute of limitations. Maya jumped in before I could answer. Trevor, Mom's stuck in 1996. It's just how she is. Stuck in 1996. Like it was a character flaw. Like loving your dead husband past an acceptable mourning period made you defective. That dinner was at their house. $775,000 home in Lidditz. 4 bedrooms, chef's kitchen, walk-in closets, bigger than my apartment. My apartment, $1,250 a month. Same two-bedroom unit I've rented since 1997, East Lancaster. Nothing fancy, but it's enough. I never bought a house, put every extra dollar into Maya's education instead. Penn State tuition, room and board, books, $165,000 over 4 years. Trevor doesn't know that. Or if he does, he's forgotten. "Why do you still rent?" he asked that night. "You own a successful business. You could buy something." Maya answered for me again. "Mom's got depression-era values. She thinks spending money on yourself is wasteful." They both laughed. Gentle mockery, the kind that's supposed to be affectionate but lands like an insult. I changed the subject, asked about their vacation plans, smiled, played along, but I remembered. The second time I really saw it clearly was September 3rd, a Tuesday morning. Our senior accountant, Janet Morrison, came into my office. She's been with me 24 years. Started in 2000, 4 years after James died, watched me raise Maya, covered for me when I had to leave early for her dance recitals, her school plays, her parent-teacher conferences. Janet closed the door behind her. She looked nervous. "Sharon, I need to show you something." She placed her laptop on my desk, opened her email, scrolled to a thread she'd been copied on by mistake. "Maya didn't mean to include me," she said, "but I think you need to see this." The subject line: Peterson and Associates Acquisition Proposal, Confidential. Wet. Peterson. Not Hollowell. I looked up at Janet. "Why does it say Peterson?" Maya's been using her married name for business communications. Trevor's last name. Janet's voice was quiet. She's been distancing the firm from the Hollowell name. 187 emails starting April 8th between Maya and executives at Apex Financial Group. Vice President of Acquisitions, David Morrison. CFO Patricia Hill. I scrolled through them. My chest felt tight. April 8th. Maya to David Morrison. My mother runs a charity, not a business. Our elderly client base depresses our valuation. Post. Acquisition. Can we transition them to automated services? May 15th. Patricia Hill to Maya. Understood. We'd eliminate any clients billing under $450 per month within 90 days. Your mother won't need to be involved in transition decisions. June 30th. Maya to David. Mom's sentimental about the legacy program. It's named after my dad, but honestly, it's just her way of processing grief. Once she's out, we can rebrand and streamline. July 22nd. Maya to Patricia. The old folks program is just mom's grief therapy. We'll dump them, and they won't even understand what happened. I read that line 3 times. They won't even understand what happened. Janet stood there watching me. I could see she was angry. Her jaw was tight. "Sharon," she said quietly, "she's been planning this for 5 months. You're not copied on anything." I looked up at her. "Does she know you saw this?" "No. Don't tell her." She nodded, left my office. I sat there for 20 minutes, staring at James's photo, thinking about Mrs. Eleanor Walsh. 81 years old, widow, lives on $1,285 a month Social Security. I charge her $135 for tax prep and quarterly bookkeeping. Market rate would be $595. In 2018, I saved her from a reverse mortgage scam. Predatory lender offered her $315,000 against her home, would have taken everything. I spent 17 hours on her case. Billed 3 hours at $135. She brings me cookies sometimes when the bill is too much. Homemade chocolate chip in a Tupperware container with a handwritten label, "For Miss Life." End of 17 hours of 17. Sharon. Maya thinks that's pathetic. I think it's everything. Let me give you the numbers, because numbers tell the truth when words lie. Hollowell and Associates serves 445 clients. 76 of them are elderly or disabled. Fixed income, Social Security, small pensions. Ages range from 66 to 87. Average fee I charge them, $128 per month. Market rate, $595 per month. The difference, $467 per client per month. Multiply that by 76 clients. Multiply that by 12 months. $52,800 per year. That's how much I subsidize. That's what Maya calls wasteful. That's what Apex Financial Group calls low-value clients. But here's what those numbers don't show. Mrs. Eleanor Walsh, 81, $1,285 per month Social Security after Medicare deductions, pays me $135, cannot afford $595. If Apex takes over, she loses affordable accounting. She goes to H&R Block, pays $280 for basic tax prep, maybe gets audited because the seasonal worker doesn't know her situation, maybe loses her home because she can't afford proper financial planning. Mr. Arthur Bennett, 73, retired postal worker, $1,425 a month pension, wife has dementia, needs help with medical expense tracking for tax deductions. I charge him $185. Market rate $725. Difference keeps them above water. Mrs. Dorothy Hamilton, 68, early widow. Husband died in construction accident 2010. Settlement money in trust. I charge her $150. Market rate $650. She doesn't know the difference, but I do. These aren't just clients. They're the reason I became a CPA in the first place. Let me tell you about 1,996. James and I were 32 and 33 years old. Maya was 7. James worked construction. I was doing bookkeeping from home, building toward my CPA certification. We had $18,000 in savings. Everything we'd scraped together since Maya was born. Then James started having back pain. We thought it was from work. Lifting, bending, the usual construction wear and tear. By the time we got him to a doctor, the pancreatic cancer was stage 4. Inoperable. 6 months to live, they said. He lasted 4. The medical bills came fast. Chemotherapy, radiation, experimental treatments insurance wouldn't cover. We tried everything. Sold our car, borrowed from family, maxed out credit cards. By the time James died in August 1996, we had $340,000 in medical debt and $0 in savings. I was 33 years old, a widow with a 7-year-old daughter, and debt that would take me 20 years to pay off. I couldn't get loans. Banks looked at my situation and saw risk. Single black woman, dead husband, mountain of debt, no collateral. Bernard Hoffman changed that. He was 68 years old, retired accountant, lived 2 blocks from our apartment. He'd done his own taxes for 50 years, never trusted anyone else with his money. But he heard about James, heard about my situation, showed up at my door one Tuesday morning with a check for $15,000. "This is a loan," he said. 5% interest. No collateral. Pay me back when you can. "Why would you do this?" I asked him. "Because 30 years ago, someone did it for me when my wife got sick. And he told me, when you get back on your feet, you pay it forward. You don't pay it back, you pay it forward." I used that $15,000 to finish my CPA certification, rent a small office, buy equipment. Started Hollowell and Associates in January 1997. My first client was Bernard Hoffman. I charged him $50 to do his taxes. He paid me $200. "That's too much," I told him. "That's exactly right," he said. "You undervalue yourself because you're grateful. Stop it. Charge what you're worth." I paid Bernard back every penny within 3 years. He died in 2004, heart attack, sudden, age 76. At his funeral, his daughter told me he'd done the same thing for 11 other people over his lifetime. Gave loans, never expected them back, just told everyone to pay it forward. That's why the elderly client program exists. That's why I charge Mrs. Walsh $135 instead of $595. That's why I spent 17 hours saving her from a reverse mortgage scam. Because Bernard Hoffman saved me when I had nothing, and he told me to pay it forward. Maya never understood that, or maybe she did understand and just didn't care. She grew up watching me work 70-hour weeks, watching me take clients who couldn't pay market rate, watching me cry on James's birthday every year, watching me wear a wedding ring for a man who'd been dead longer than she could remember clearly. I thought I was teaching her about sacrifice, about service, about using success to lift others up. Maybe I was, or maybe I was teaching her that grief makes you weak, that helping people makes you poor, that the past matters more than the future. I looked at James's photo on my desk. Did I do this wrong? I whispered. Did I raise her to resent everything we stood for? He didn't answer. He never did. But I heard Maya's voice in my head. Mom's stuck in 1996. Maybe she was right. Maybe I was stuck. But if being stuck meant protecting 76 vulnerable people from corporate predators who saw them as dead weight, then I'd stay stuck. I opened a new folder on my computer, started documenting everything. The emails, the timeline, the $12.8 million acquisition deal Maya thought I didn't know about. Because here's what my daughter forgot. I might cry over cookies. I might subsidize elderly clients. I might wear a dead man's ring. But I'm also a CPA who spent 34 years building a business in a field that didn't want black women, and you don't survive that long without learning how to fight. That evening, I did something I hadn't done in years. I went to the storage unit where I kept James's things. The one Maya didn't know about, $85 a month for 27 years. Boxes of his clothes, his tools, his books, things I couldn't bring myself to throw away or donate. But I wasn't there for his belongings. I was there for the metal filing cabinet in the back corner, the one with the original company documents from 1997. I unlocked it, found the folder labeled Hollowell and Associates, Incorporation Papers. My hands were shaking as I flipped through the pages. Section 7.4, subsection B. There it was. The veto clause Bernard Hoffman insisted I include. Sharon, he'd said when we filed the paperwork, you're building something important. Someday you might want to bring in partners, maybe even your daughter, but you need protection. A way to stop decisions that go against your mission. What kind of protection? A veto clause. Any sale, merger, or major restructuring requires unanimous approval from all founding members. As long as you're alive and competent, nobody can sell this company without your explicit consent. But what if I want to retire? What if I want Maya to take over? Then you vote yes. But if someone tries to sell your mission out from under you, you have the power to stop it. I'd forgotten about Section 7.4. Or maybe I just pushed it out of my mind, not wanting to believe I'd ever need it. But here it was, 27 years later. My protection, my veto. Except I hadn't read these documents in a decade, and as I studied the language, a sick feeling grew in my stomach. The clause said founding members. Plural, Bernard was dead. Did that invalidate it? And it said competent. What defined competent? Could Maya argue I wasn't? I took photos of every page with my phone, got back in my car, drove straight to Margaret Foster's house. It was 8:30 p.m. I didn't care. Margaret answered the door in her robe, reading glasses on, glass of wine in her hand. Sharon? What's wrong? I need you to look at something. Now. Please. We sat at her kitchen table. I showed her the emails from Janet, showed her the incorporation documents, explained the veto clause. Margaret read everything twice, her expression getting darker. How long have you known about the sale? She asked. I found out this morning, and the retirement party is when? October 15th, 9 days from now. Sharon, this is bad. If Maya announces the sale publicly, in front of clients and employees, the pressure on you to approve it will be enormous. Apex will argue that opposing it makes you look vindictive, unstable, harmful to the business. Can they do that? Can they challenge my competence? Margaret hesitated. They can try. If they claim you're acting irrationally, against the business's interests, they could petition for a competency hearing. It's rare, but it happens. I'm 60 years old. I run a successful company. I'm not incompetent. I know that. But Sharon, you've been subsidizing $52,800 a year for elderly clients. You rent an apartment when you could buy a house. You've never remarried. You wear your wedding ring 28 years after your husband died. She said it gently. A corporate lawyer could paint that as obsessive behavior, depression, impaired judgment. I felt my face get hot. Loving my husband is impaired judgment? No, but that's how they'd frame it. Especially if Maya testifies that your grief has affected your business decisions, that you prioritize emotion over profit, that you can't let go of the past. So what do? We need to move fast, file a formal objection to the sale before the party, invoke the veto clause. Make it clear you're exercising your legal rights as founder, not acting out of emotion. Won't that tip Maya off? She'll know I know. She already knows something's wrong. The question is whether you fight now or fight later. If you wait until the party, you're reacting. If you act now, you're in control. I thought about that, about walking into my office tomorrow and telling Maya I knew everything, about watching her face when I pulled the veto, about the confrontation that would destroy whatever was left of our relationship. There's something else, I said quietly, something I haven't told you. Margaret waited. Last month, I forgot a client meeting, completely forgot, showed up a day late, and 2 weeks ago, I couldn't remember my office security code. Had to have Janet reset it. I told her I'd just mixed up the numbers, but Margaret, I couldn't remember it at all. It was just gone. How often is this happening? Not often. Maybe once a month. Small things. But what if it's getting worse? What if Maya's right? What if I am losing my grip? Margaret took my hand. Sharon, stress causes memory lapses. Grief causes memory lapses. That doesn't mean you're incompetent. But we need to be smart about this. If you're going to fight, we need medical documentation that you're cognitively sound. Can you see your doctor this week? Yes. Good. Get a full cognitive evaluation. We'll need it. She pulled out her laptop. Now let's talk about the veto clause. The language is old, but it's solid. However, there's a risk. If you invoke it, and Maya challenges it in court, this could drag out for months. The business will suffer. Clients will leave. Employees will quit. Apex might sue for breach. Are you prepared for that? What's my alternative? You could negotiate, let the sale go through, but require them to maintain the elderly client program for a set period, 5 years, 10 years. Get it in writing. And trust Apex to honor it? Trust Maya to enforce it? I shook my head. They'll wait 6 months and then start cutting costs. The elderly clients will be the first to go. Probably. But at least you'd get the $12.8 million. You could retire. Start a nonprofit. Help people in other ways. I looked at James's photo on my phone, the one I'd taken of his photo before leaving my office. That's not what Bernard Hoffman taught me. He didn't say pay it forward when it's convenient. He said pay it forward, period. Margaret nodded. Then we fight. But Sharon, you need to understand something. If you do this, if you publicly block this sale, Maya will never forgive you. Trevor will turn her against you even more. You might lose your daughter forever. I might lose Satenta. He says vulnerable people if I don't. That's not the same thing. Isn't it? Maya is one person. One person who has a $775,000 house, a corporate lawyer husband, and a career that'll survive this. Mrs. Walsh is one person too. One person who has $1,285 a month and no backup plan. Maya is your daughter. And these people are somebody's mothers, somebody's fathers, somebody's grandparents. I stood up. I'm doing this. Draft the paperwork. I'll file it Friday morning, 4 days before the party. Let Maya know I'm not going quietly. Friday morning, October 11th, 4 days before the retirement party. I walked into the office at 7 a.m., an hour before anyone else arrived. I had Margaret's legal filing in my briefcase. Formal objection to the proposed sale of Hollowell and Associates. Invocation of veto clause under Section 7.4. Notice to Apex Financial Group that negotiations were unauthorized. I sat at my desk, looking at James's photo. Am I doing the right thing? I whispered. For the first time in 28 years, I wished he could answer. Really answer. Not just exist as a memory I talked to, but actually tell me what he thought, what he'd want me to do. Then I remembered something I'd pushed down so deep I'd almost convinced myself it never happened. 3 weeks before James died, when he was so weak he could barely sit up, he'd asked me to bring him a notebook and pen. His handwriting was shaky, but he filled 3 pages. When he finished, he folded them, put them in an envelope, wrote my name on the front. Don't open this now, he'd said. Open it after, when you're ready. Ready for what? To live again. I'd put that envelope in the filing cabinet with our important papers, life insurance, his will, medical records, and I'd never opened it, not in 28 years, because I was never ready. Or maybe because I was afraid of what it would say. I looked at the clock. 7:15 a.m. I had 45 minutes before people started arriving. I drove to the storage unit, opened the filing cabinet, found the envelope, still sealed. My name in James's shaky handwriting. My hands were trembling as I opened it. The letter was dated August 3rd, 1996, 11 days before he died. Sharon, I'm writing this because I need you to hear something, and I don't have the strength to say it out loud anymore. I'm so proud of you. Proud of the mother you are. Proud of the woman you've become. Proud of everything you've sacrificed for me and for Maya. But baby, I need you to promise me something. Don't make me your prison. I stopped reading. My vision was blurring. I know you, Sharon. I know how you love. Completely, fiercely, forever. And I'm scared that when I'm gone, you'll turn that love into a cage. You'll make me into a saint. You'll make our marriage into something so perfect that nothing else can measure up. You'll spend the rest of your life serving a ghost instead of building a future. Tears were streaming down my face now. I don't want that for you. I want you to remarry. I want you to fall in love again. I want you to take off that wedding ring and let someone new put a different one on. I want you to buy a house, take vacations, spend money on yourself instead of just on Maya and your business. I want you to be happy, Sharon, not just content, not just surviving, actually happy. I had to stop, had to breathe. And Maya, baby girl Maya. She's going to need you to be whole, not broken. She's going to need a mother who shows her that grief doesn't have to define you. That loss doesn't have to become your identity. That loving someone who died doesn't mean you stop living. The next paragraph hit me like a physical blow. I know about the business idea. The accounting firm. Bernard Hoffman told me about the loan he's planning to give you. It's beautiful, Sharon. Do it. Build something that matters. But please, don't make it a memorial to me. Don't make it about grief. Make it about hope. About helping people, yes. But also about building your own life. Your own legacy. Not mine, yours. The letter ended simply, "I love you forever." But forever doesn't mean frozen. Live. Sharon. Please. For Maya. For yourself. For me. Live. James. I sat in that storage unit, on the concrete floor, holding a letter my husband had written 28 years ago, and I understood something I'd been refusing to see. James was right. I'd made him into a prison. I'd turned our marriage into a shrine. I'd built my entire life around grief, called it service, called it honor, called it paying it forward. But maybe it was just fear. Fear of moving on, fear of betraying his memory, fear of being happy when he couldn't be. And Maya. Maya had grown up watching me worship a ghost, watching me choose dead memories over living relationships, watching me value elderly strangers who reminded me of my pain over building something new with her. No wonder she resented the elderly clients. No wonder she wanted to sell the business. No wonder she said I was stuck in 1996. She was right. I folded the letter carefully, put it back in the envelope, but this time I didn't leave it in the storage unit. I took it with me. When I got back to the office, people were arriving. Janet saw my face. "Sharon, are you okay?" "No, but I will be." I went into my office, closed the door, pulled out my phone, called Margaret. "I need to ask you something," I said when she answered. "The letter James wrote. If I'd found it 28 years ago and ignored it, if I'd built my whole life around grief when he specifically asked me not to, does that change anything?" "Change anything about what?" "About whether I'm doing this for the right reasons. About whether protecting these clients is about them or about protecting my grief." Margaret was quiet for a moment. "Sharon, why are you asking this now?" "Because I just read the letter, and I don't know anymore. I don't know if I'm saving 76 people or if I'm just too scared to let go of 1,996. Can it be both? I don't think so. Then you need to figure out which one it is before you file this objection, because if you're doing this to protect your grief, Maya will destroy you, the court will see it, Apex will see it, everyone will see it. But if you're doing this because 76 people genuinely need protection, then it doesn't matter what James's letter said. It doesn't matter if you've been grieving wrong for 28 years. The right thing is still the right thing." I looked at the filing in my briefcase, then at James's letter, then at the clock, 8:45 a.m., employees arriving. Maya would be here any minute. "I need 24 hours, I told Margaret. "Don't file yet." "Sharon, the party is in 4 days. If you wait, you lose leverage." "I know, but I need to be sure. I need to know I'm fighting for them, not for me." I hung up, sat at my desk, and for the first time in 28 years, I took off my wedding ring. The ring left a pale indentation on my finger. 28 years of wearing it had marked me permanently. I stared at my hand, feeling naked and wrong. Then I put the ring in my desk drawer and closed it. Maya arrived at 9 a.m. I watched through my office window as she walked to her desk, coffee in hand, phone to her ear. She looked confident, relaxed, like someone who'd already won and was just waiting for the official announcement. I spent the morning seeing clients. Mrs. Dorothy Hamilton came in at 10 a.m. with her quarterly bookkeeping. She's 68, widow, husband died in a construction accident 14 years ago. Settlement money in a trust I help her manage. "Miss Sharon, you look tired," she said as she handed me her receipts. "You taking care of yourself?" "I'm fine, Dorothy. Just a lot on my mind with the retirement coming up." "I heard about that. The party's Tuesday, right?" "I'm planning to come. Wouldn't miss it." She smiled. "You've done so much for us. It'll be nice to celebrate you for once." I looked at her folder. Dorothy pays me $150 a month. Market rate would be $650. Over the 8 years I've worked with her, I've subsidized $48,000 of accounting services. She doesn't know that. She thinks she's paying full price. She thinks I'm just being kind when I don't raise her rates. Dorothy, can I ask you something? Of course. If something happened to me, if I retired and someone else took over the firm, would you be okay? Would you be able to afford a different accountant? Her smile faded. Is something wrong? Are you selling? I'm just asking hypothetically. She was quiet for a moment. Honestly? No, I couldn't afford market rate. I'm on a fixed income. The settlement money has to last me the rest of my life. Your rates are the only reason I can afford proper accounting. If I had to pay what other firms charge, I'd have to do it myself. And Miss Sharon, I'm not good with numbers. I'd mess it up. Probably get audited. Lose money I can't afford to lose. What would you do? I don't know. Maybe move in with my sister in Harrisburg, sell my house, start over somewhere cheaper. She looks scared now. Why are you asking me this? No reason. Just thinking about the future. I took her receipts. Give me 2 days. I'll have your quarterly report ready by Monday. After she left, I sat there thinking about what she'd said. Move to Harrisburg. Sell her house. Start over. That's what would happen if Apex took over. Not just to Dorothy. To all 76 of them. Displacement, confusion, financial chaos. At noon I walked down to Maya's office. She was on the phone laughing about something. When she saw me, she said a quick goodbye and hung up. Hey Mom, what's up? I closed the door behind me, sat down across from her desk. We need to talk. About? About Apex Financial Group. About the $12.8 million acquisition deal you've been negotiating since April. Her face went pale. Then red. Then carefully neutral. How did you know about that? Does it matter? It matters because those negotiations were confidential. Someone violated their NDA. Someone accidentally copied Janet on an email thread. She showed it to me because she thought I should know my daughter was selling my business behind my back. Maya stood up, started pacing. It's not behind your back. We were going to tell you at the retirement party. Make it part of the celebration. You retire, we announce the acquisition. Everyone celebrates your legacy. My legacy of dumping 76 elderly clients onto automated services that will destroy their financial security? That's not what we're doing. That's exactly what you're doing. I read the emails, Maya. Eliminate any clients billing under $450 per month within 90 days. That's 76 people. 76 vulnerable people who depend on us. They depend on you, Mom. Not us. Not me. You. She stopped pacing. This is your grief therapy, not a business strategy. You subsidize $52,800 a year because you feel guilty about Dad's medical bills, because you can't let go of $1,996, because you'd rather save strangers than build something for your own family. These strangers are people. So am I. So is Trevor. So are the 38 employees who could make more money at a corporate firm but stay here because you pay below market rate. So are the clients who could get better service if we had the resources to invest in technology and training. You're so busy saving the past that you're sacrificing the future. I wanted to argue, wanted to tell her she was wrong. But I thought about James's letter, about his words. Don't make me your prison. You're right, I said quietly. Maya stopped. What? You're right. I've been stuck in 1996. I've been using this business as grief therapy. I've been putting my need to honor your father above everything else. She sat down slowly. I didn't expect you to admit that. I didn't expect to admit it either. But I read something today that made me see things differently. I pulled the envelope from my pocket. Your father wrote me a letter before he died. I never opened it. Until this morning. What did it say? That he didn't want me to make him into a prison. That he wanted me to live, not just survive. That he wanted me to build my own legacy, not a memorial to him. Maya's eyes were wet. He wrote that? Yes, and he was right. Just like you're right. I have been stuck. I have been using these elderly clients as a way to avoid moving forward. So you'll approve the sale? I looked at my daughter, at her hopeful face, at the desperation hiding behind her anger. And I understood something else. This wasn't just about money. This wasn't just about corporate ambition. Maya had grown up competing with a ghost. Every achievement overshadowed by your father would be so proud. Every conversation redirected to James's memory. Every holiday marked by my tears and my ring and my refusal to move on. She wasn't just selling a business. She was trying to free herself from 1,996 too. I don't know yet, I said honestly. But I need you to understand something. Even if I've been doing this for the wrong reasons, even if this business has been about my grief, that doesn't change what will happen to those 76 people if Apex takes over. They will lose their homes, their security, their dignity, and Maya. I can't be okay with that, no matter what your father's letter said. So what are you saying? I'm saying I need to figure out if there's a way to honor his wish for me to move forward while still protecting the people who need protection. And I need to know something from you. What? If I let this sale go through, if I gave you what you wanted, would it fix what's broken between us? Would it make you stop resenting me? Stop seeing me as stuck in the past? Maya was quiet for a long time. I don't know, Mom. Maybe it's too late for that. Those words hurt more than anything she'd said in the emails. I left Maya's office and went back to mine, closed the door, sat in the silence. My hand kept reaching for the wedding ring that wasn't there anymore. At 2 p.m., my phone rang. Unknown number. I almost didn't answer. Sharon Hollowell? A man's voice, professional. Yes. This is David Morrison, Vice President of Acquisitions at Apex Financial Group. I understand you've learned about our pending transaction. How did you get my number? Maya provided it. Mrs. Hollowell, I'm calling as a courtesy. The acquisition announcement is scheduled for Tuesday at your retirement celebration. We'd prefer to handle this smoothly. Any opposition would be, well, unfortunate for all parties involved. Is that a threat? It's a reality. We've invested significant time and resources into this deal. If you attempt to block it, we'll pursue legal remedies. And Mrs. Hollowell, I should mention, we've done our due diligence. Your practice of subsidizing certain clients, your below-market fee structures, your emotional attachment to legacy programs, these all demonstrate, shall we say, concerning judgment patterns. My chest tightened. I'm protecting vulnerable people. You're operating a charity disguised as a business. There's a reason accountants charge market rates. It's called professionalism. What you're doing might feel noble, but it's financially irresponsible. A court would likely agree. Are you threatening to challenge my competence? I'm suggesting that a woman who wears her dead husband's wedding ring for 28 years and cries over cookies might want to consider whether public opposition to a beneficial business transaction is in her best interest. I hung up. My hands were shaking. They'd already built their case, already prepared to paint me as an unstable widow clinging to the past. Maya must have told them everything. The ring, the clients, the cookies, every vulnerability weaponized. I called Margaret. They're going to challenge my competence if I fight this. I expected that. Did you get the cognitive evaluation I recommended? Not yet. Sharon, you need to do that today. Right now. We need documentation that you're sound of mind before they file anything. It's Friday afternoon. How am I supposed to get an evaluation today? I'll make calls. Just be ready to go where I tell you. 20 minutes later, I was driving to a neuropsychologist's office in Lititz, Dr. Rebecca Chen. Margaret had pulled strings, called in favors. Dr. Chen agreed to see me immediately. The evaluation took 3 hours. Memory tests, cognitive assessments, questions about my daily functioning. Why was I there? What was the date? Count backwards from 100 by sevens. Remember these 3 words and repeat them in 5 minutes. I passed everything. Mostly. There was one moment where Dr. Chen asked me to recall a list of objects she'd shown me 20 minutes earlier. I got 6 out of 10. She made a note. "Is that bad?" I asked. "It's within normal range for a 60-year-old under significant stress." "Are you sleeping well?" "No." "Eating regularly?" "Not really." "Experiencing any major life stressors?" "My daughter is selling my business without my permission, and a corporation is threatening to declare me incompetent if I try to stop them." Dr. Chen nodded. "That would explain the memory lapses, Mrs. Hollowell. You're cognitively sound. You have no signs of dementia or significant impairment. What you have is stress and grief, and those are not the same as incompetence." She handed me a sealed envelope. "Give this to your attorney. It's my full evaluation and professional opinion. If anyone challenges your capacity, this will help." I drove back to the office. It was almost 6 p.m. Most people had left. But Maya's car was still in the parking lot, and there was another car I recognized, Trevor's black Mercedes. I went inside, heard voices from the conference room, Maya, Trevor, and someone else. I walked quietly down the hall. "She's going to fight it," Trevor was saying. "She called my office this morning asking about veto clauses in corporate documents. She's planning something." "Wait, Trevor's office? Why would I call Trevor?" "I didn't call you," I said, pushing the door open. 3 faces turned to me, Maya, Trevor, and a woman I didn't recognize. Late 40 seconds, expensive suit, briefcase open on the table. "Mom, this is Patricia Hill, CFO of Apex Financial Group." Patricia stood, extended her hand. I didn't shake it. "Mrs. Hollowell, we were just discussing transition logistics. We'd like to make this as smooth as possible for everyone. I haven't agreed to any sale." "Actually," Trevor said, sliding a document across the table, "you don't need to. Maya has full authority as managing partner to execute this transaction. Your approval is, legally speaking, unnecessary." I picked up the document. Partnership Agreement, revised 2019. Section 3.7. Managing partner shall have authority to enter into acquisitions, mergers, or sales valued up to $15 million without unanimous partner consent. I never signed this. "Yes, you did." Maya pulled out another paper. "December 2019, when I made partner. You signed the revision package. It was 47 pages. This clause was on page 31. I stared at the signature. It was mine. 5 years ago, when Maya made partner, I'd been so proud, so happy. I'd signed everything she put in front of me without reading it carefully, because I trusted her. "You planned this," I said slowly. 5 years ago, you were already planning to sell. I was planning for the future, building in flexibility, being smart about business structure. You were setting a trap." Trevor stood. "Sharon, let's not be dramatic. This is a good deal. $12.8 million. You retire wealthy. Maya takes over. The business evolves. Everyone wins. Except 76 elderly clients who lose their accountant. 76 people who've been taking advantage of your guilt for years," Maya said. Her voice was hard now. "Mom, they don't love you. They use you. Mrs. Walsh with her cookies? She knows exactly what she's doing. She manipulates your grief. They all do." "That's not true. Isn't it? They call you Miss Sharon. They bring you gifts. They cry when they talk about you, because they've figured out that if they perform gratitude, you'll subsidize them forever. It's not respect, Mom. It's exploitation. Patricia Hill cleared her throat. Mrs. Hollowell, I'm flying back to Boston tonight. I need to know whether we're moving forward or whether this is going to get complicated. I looked at the partnership agreement, at Trevor's smug face, at Maya's hard eyes, at the trap I'd walked into 5 years ago. I need to talk to my attorney. Of course, but I should mention, Patricia pulled out her phone. We've already begun contacting your elderly clients, courtesy calls, letting them know about the transition, explaining that their service fees will be adjusted to market rate effective November 1st. Several have already indicated they'll be seeking services elsewhere. You what? We're being transparent. Giving them time to plan. It's the professional thing to do. You're scaring them, forcing them out before the sale even goes through. We're preparing them for reality. Mrs. Hollowell, your charity operation ends in 4 days. Whether you approve the sale or not, because even if you somehow block it, Maya has legal authority to restructure fee schedules. The elderly program is over either way. The only question is whether you get paid for it. I left the conference room, walked straight to my office, locked the door. My phone was ringing. Mrs. Eleanor Walsh, I answered. Miss Sharon? Her voice was shaking. I just got a call from someone at your company, a woman named Patricia. She said my fees are going up to $595 a month starting November. I can't afford that. I can barely afford the $135 I pay now. What's happening? Mrs. Walsh, I'm handling it, don't worry. But she said you're retiring. That the company's being sold. Is that true? It's complicated. Miss Sharon, if my fees go up like that, I'll have to stop. I'll have to do my own taxes. And you know I can't. I tried before I found you, and I got audited. Lost $4,000 I didn't have. If that happens again, I'll lose my house. It won't happen. I promise you, I'm going to fix this. After I hung up, my phone rang again. Mr. Arthur Bennett. Then Mrs. Dorothy Hamilton. Then 5 more elderly clients, all of them terrified, all of them panicking about fee increases they couldn't afford. Patricia Hill had called every single one of them, not to inform them, to weaponize them against me. By 7 p.m., I had 23 voicemails and 41 text messages, all from elderly clients, all scared. I called Margaret. They're terrorizing my clients, calling them directly, telling them fees are going up. These people are in their 70 seconds and 80 seconds. They're panicking. That's intimidation. We can file a complaint. By the time we file anything, the damage is done. Margaret, I need to stop this now. The veto clause, Sharon. It's your only option. File it tonight. I'll submit it first thing Monday morning. But you need to understand. Once you do this, there's no going back. Maya will never forgive you. Trevor will make sure of that. And Apex will fight you in court for months. I thought about James's letter, about his wish for me to live, not just survive. About Maya saying maybe it's too late for that. About 76 terrified people who'd just gotten calls telling them they were losing the only financial stability they had. File it, I said. Are you sure? I'm sure. By 8 p.m., the paperwork was drafted. Formal invocation of veto clause. Notification to Apex Financial Group that all negotiations were void. Notification to Maya that she'd exceeded her authority. Margaret would file it with the court Monday morning, 3 days before the retirement party. I sat in my office, looking at James's photo. I don't know if I'm doing this for the right reasons, I whispered. I don't know if I'm protecting them or protecting my grief. But I can't let them fall. I just can't. My phone rang again. Unknown number. I answered without thinking. Mrs. Hollowell? A woman's voice. Not Patricia Hill. Someone younger. Yes. This is Alexis Walsh. Eleanor Walsh's granddaughter. I'm calling because I wanted to thank you for everything you've done for my grandmother. Oh, you're welcome. No, you don't understand. I'm calling because I need to tell you something. Something Grandma doesn't know I know. My stomach dropped. What is it? Grandma has money. Like, real money. My grandfather left her a life insurance policy and investments. She has about $340,000. She doesn't need to pay you $135 a month. She could easily pay full price. But she tells you she only has Social Security because, I'm sorry to say this, because she likes feeling special. She likes that you treat her differently, that you cry over her cookies. She brags about it to her friends at church, about how you're her accountant, who does special rates just for her. I couldn't speak. I found out last year when I was helping her with some paperwork. I saw the investment statements. When I asked her about it, she said it was none of my business, that she deserved special treatment after everything she'd been through. But Mrs. Hollowell, she's lying to you. She's taking advantage of your kindness. And after she got that call today about the fee increase, she told me she was going to cry to you about losing her house. But she's not going to lose anything. She just doesn't want to pay market rate. I sat there, the phone pressed to my ear, feeling something crack inside me. Why are you telling me this? Because it's not right. You're a good person. You don't deserve to be manipulated. And, I'm being honest, because if you're really selling the company, I don't want Grandma's lies to be the reason you change your mind. She doesn't need your protection. Other people probably do, but she doesn't. After we hung up, I sat in the dark office for a long time. Then I pulled out my client files, started going through them. Really going through them, not just accepting what people told me. Mrs. Dorothy Hamilton, widow, husband, died in construction accident 2010. Except the settlement wasn't small. It was $1.2 million. I'd helped her set up the trust. I knew exactly how much she had. She could afford full rate easily, but she'd told me she was struggling, that she could barely make ends meet. I'd believed her because I wanted to. Mr. Arthur Bennett, retired postal worker with a pension. Except he also had a retirement account with $270,000 and rental income from a property in Harrisburg he'd inherited. He'd mentioned it once, years ago, then never brought it up again. I'd forgotten, or maybe I'd chosen to forget. I went through all 76 elderly client files. By midnight, I'd found the truth. 23 of them were genuinely vulnerable, actually living on fixed incomes with no backup resources. They truly needed subsidized rates. But 53 of them, they had assets, savings, investments, properties. They could afford market rate. Some of them could afford twice market rate. They just didn't want to pay it. They liked being special. They liked the story of the kind accountant who subsidized them out of the goodness of her heart. Maya was right. They were exploiting me. Not all of them, but most of them. I thought about Mrs. Walsh's cookies, the ones that made me cry, the handwritten labels, the Tupperware containers, all of it theater, performance, manipulation disguised as gratitude, and I'd fallen for it. For years. Because it made me feel good. Made me feel like I was honoring James. Made me feel like Bernard Hoffman. Made me feel like I was paying it forward, when really, I was just being played. I called Margaret at 12:30 a.m., don't file the veto. What? Sharon? I thought you were sure. I was wrong about a lot of things. Don't file it. Let the sale go through. What changed? I found out the truth about my elderly clients. Most of them don't need protection. They need accountability. I looked at the files spread across my desk, and I need to stop using other people's problems as an excuse to avoid my own. So, you're just going to let Maya win? No, I'm going to do something else. Something James would have wanted. Something that's actually about moving forward instead of staying stuck. What's that? I'll tell you Monday. Right now, I just need to sleep. But I didn't sleep. I sat in my office all night, thinking about James's letter, about Maya's anger, about 53 people who'd lied to me, about 23 people who genuinely needed help, about how I'd confused enabling with honoring, charity with grief therapy. By dawn, I knew what I had to do. It would cost me everything, my business, my daughter, my identity, but it was the right thing. The thing James had asked me to do 28 years ago. Let go of 1,996 and finally start living in 2024. Monday morning, I called an emergency staff meeting. All 38 employees. Maya looked suspicious when I sent the calendar invite, but she showed up. I have an announcement, I said when everyone was gathered. The retirement party is still happening Tuesday, but there's going to be a change. Maya stood up. Mom, we already have the program planned. Sit down, Maya. I'm not finished. I looked around the room at faces I'd known for years. Janet, who'd been with me 24 years. Young accountants I'd hired fresh out of college. Support staff who'd worked here longer than my daughter had been alive. I've decided to approve the sale to Apex Financial Group. The $12.8 million deal will go through as planned. The room erupted. Questions, confusion, Maya's face showing shock and relief. I raised my hand for silence. But there are conditions. First, 23 of our elderly clients, the ones who genuinely need subsidized rates, will be transferred to a newly created nonprofit, the Sharon and James Hollowell Foundation. I'm personally funding it with $2 million from the sale proceeds. It will provide accounting services in perpetuity for people who truly cannot afford market rates. Janet Morrison will run it. Janet's eyes went wide. Sharon, I don't. You've earned this. You know these clients. You know who needs help and who's just taking advantage. The foundation will have strict verification requirements. Financial statements. Asset disclosures. Real need, not performed need. Maya was on her feet. You're giving away $2 million? It's my money to give. That's condition 1. Condition 2, the remaining 53 elderly clients who have been paying reduced rates, despite having the assets to afford full price, will be transitioned to market rate immediately. No grace period. Apex can handle that however they want. I looked directly at Maya. Condition 3. I'm donating an additional $1 million to establish the James Hollowell Memorial Scholarship at Penn State. Full-ride accounting scholarships for students from low-income families, the kind of students who wouldn't otherwise have access to this profession. That's $3 million, Trevor said, standing now. You're giving away almost a quarter of the sale price. Yes. The remaining $9.8 million will be split. Janet gets $500,000 as a retirement bonus for 24 years of service. The other 37 employees get $200,000 to split as bonuses based on tenure. Maya, as managing partner, gets $4 million, and I keep $5.1 million for my actual retirement. The room was silent. Maya's face was unreadable. Why? She finally asked. Why are you doing this? I pulled James's letter from my pocket. Because your father asked me 28 years ago to stop making him my prison. To live. Instead of just surviving. To build my own legacy, not a memorial to him. I ignored that letter. I built a shrine instead of a life. I used vulnerable people, or people I thought were vulnerable, to avoid dealing with my grief. And Maya, you were right. I was stuck in 1996, but not anymore. I handed her the letter. Read it. Understand that he wanted me to move forward, that he wanted you to have a mother who was whole, not broken. I failed at that. I failed you. But I'm done failing. Maya read the letter, tears streaming down her face. When she finished, she looked at me. You kept this from me for 28 years? I kept it from myself. I never opened it until Friday. I was too afraid of what it might say. He wanted you to be happy. I know, and I wasn't. I chose grief over joy, guilt over growth. I made you grow up with a ghost instead of a mother. I'm sorry, Maya. I'm so sorry. She stood there, holding her father's letter, crying. Trevor moved toward her, but she waved him away. Mom, I don't know what to say. You don't have to say anything. Just know that I'm letting go. The sale goes through. You get what you wanted. And I finally do what your father asked me to do 28 years ago. I move on. I looked around the room one last time. The retirement party is tomorrow, 6 p.m. I hope you'll all be there. Not to celebrate me, to celebrate what we built together, and to celebrate what comes next. I walked out of the conference room, leaving them all behind. For the first time in 28 years, my hand didn't reach for a wedding ring that wasn't there. And for the first time in 28 years, that felt right. The retirement party happened as scheduled. Tuesday, October 15th, 6 p.m., 220 people filled the ballroom at the Lancaster Country Club. Employees, clients, community members. Maya stood at the front with Trevor. Patricia Hill flew in from Boston. Even some of the elderly clients came, though their numbers were noticeably smaller after the truth came out. Maya gave a speech about legacy and transition, about honoring the past while building the future. She thanked me for 34 years of service, for raising her alone, for teaching her the accounting profession. Her voice cracked twice. Trevor put his hand on her shoulder. When it was my turn to speak, I walked to the microphone with James's letter in my pocket, but I didn't take it out. I didn't need it anymore. 34 years ago, I started this business with a $15,000 loan from a man named Bernard Hoffman. He told me to pay it forward, not back. I spent 28 years thinking I understood what that meant. I was wrong. I looked at Maya. Paying it forward doesn't mean staying stuck in grief. It doesn't mean using other people's struggles to avoid your own. It means honoring the gift you were given by actually living, by growing, by becoming the person who gave you that gift always hoped you'd be. My husband James died 28 years ago. He wrote me a letter before he died, asking me not to make him my prison. I ignored that letter. I made him into a saint, made our marriage into a shrine, made grief into my identity. And in doing that, I failed the person who mattered most, my daughter. Maya was crying now, not bothering to hide it. Maya, you were right about me. I was stuck in 1996. I used elderly clients as grief therapy. I chose dead memories over living relationships. I made you compete with a ghost your entire life. And for that, I am deeply sorry. I turned to the crowd. This sale to Apex Financial Group is a good thing. It's the right thing. Because it forces me to finally do what I should have done 28 years ago. Let go, move forward, live. After the speeches, people came up to congratulate me. Some of the elderly clients who'd been lying about their assets couldn't meet my eyes. Mrs. Walsh approached, started to say something, then just turned and walked away. I let her go. But Mr. Arthur Bennett, one of the 23 genuinely vulnerable clients, shook my hand. The foundation you're setting up, Miss Sharon, that means the world. Real help for people who really need it. That's what Bernard Hoffman would have wanted. I hope so. Late in the evening, Maya found me on the balcony, away from the crowd. Mom, I need to tell you something. What is it? Trevor and I are separating. I'm filing papers next week. I turned to her, shocked. Because of this? Because of the business? No. Because he's the one who called Apex and told them about Section 7.4. He's the one who suggested they challenge your competence. He's the one who contacted the elderly clients to scare them. He did all of that without telling me. And when I found out, when I realized he'd manipulated both of us to push this sale through, I couldn't. I can't stay with someone like that. Maya, I'm so sorry. Don't be. You were right about something else too. I didn't want this sale just for money. I wanted it to escape 1,996, to finally stop competing with Dad's memory, to make you see me instead of seeing him every time you looked at me. But the sale isn't going to fix that. Only we can fix that. I'd like to try. If you're willing. She nodded, wiping her eyes. I'd like that too. 6 months later, I'm sitting in a coffee shop in Lidditz, not working, not checking emails, just reading a book I bought because it looked interesting, not because it reminded me of James. The Sharon and James Hollowell Foundation is thriving. Janet runs it beautifully. 23 vulnerable clients getting real help with real oversight. No more manipulation, no more performed gratitude. Just people who need support getting it with dignity. Maya visits twice a week. We're rebuilding. Slowly. It's awkward sometimes. There are silences we don't know how to fill. Resentments that don't disappear just because we want them to. But we're trying. That's more than we had before. I still think about James every day. But I think about him differently now. Not as a ghost I'm trying to honor, but as a man who loved me enough to tell me the truth, even when he knew I wouldn't want to hear it. Last week, I went on a date. First one in 28 years. A man I met at church. It was terrible. Awkward and stilted and nothing like what James and I had. But I went. I tried. And tomorrow, I'm going on a second date with someone else. Because trying is what James asked me to do. Some legacies are built in letting go, in choosing life over grief, in finally hearing the words someone whispered 28 years ago and having the courage to listen. I'm 60 years old. I have at least 20 more years, maybe 30. I'm not spending them stuck in 1996. I'm spending them living. If this story resonated with you, share it, because sometimes the people we love most ask us to do the hardest thing, to let them go, to move forward, to choose ourselves. And sometimes, 28 years later, we finally listen. That is Sharon's story. Now I want to hear from you. Where are you watching this from? What city? What country? Drop it in the comments below. I love seeing our global community come together over these stories. Real question. If you were Sharon, what would you have done? Would you have fought the sale to protect those 76 elderly clients? Would you have approved it immediately to repair your relationship with Maya? Or would you have done what Sharon did? Investigated first and discovered the uncomfortable truth? Tell me in the comments. Hit that like button if this story made you feel something. Share it if you know someone who has struggled to move on from loss. Someone who built their entire identity around grief and called it honor. Someone who had to choose between protecting their mission and protecting their family. Someone who finally read a letter they'd been too afraid to open for decades. And subscribe for more raw, real stories about grief that becomes prison, love that becomes manipulation, protection that becomes enabling, and the courage it takes to finally let go of the past, even when holding on feels like loyalty. One last thing. Team Sharon or Team Maya? Do you think Sharon was right to spend 28 years subsidizing elderly clients, even though most of them were lying about their financial need? Or was Maya right that her mother was running grief therapy disguised as a business? And what about that letter from James? Was Sharon honoring his memory by helping others, or dishonoring his dying wish by staying stuck in 1,996? Comment below. I read every single one. Thanks for watching. Sometimes the people we love most ask us to do the hardest thing, to let them go, to stop making them our prison, to choose living over surviving. And sometimes it takes 28 years to finally have the courage to listen. See you in the next video.